had a teacher call me. She saw me on the news. I had a lady call me out of the blue. Actually, I didn't know it was a teacher. And she saw that I was, I had done the morning shows as the publisher of New Orleans Magazine and these other things. And that evening I had a book signing at one of the Brendan's restaurants, but I was on the 10 o'clock news on 2 or 3 of the networks. And I get home that evening and the phone rings and I'm exhausted, but it's been a great day. And it's a woman on the other line. And I go, hello. And she says, is Julio Melara in? And I go, well, this is he. And she asked, is this the same Julio Melara who went to Bonneville High School? Which I thought was kind of odd, huh? I go, yes, it is. And the lady goes, is this the same Julio Melara who spent more time in detention than he did doing his English homework? And I go, no, that was his twin brother, Jose. She goes, Julio didn't have a twin brother. She goes, I said, okay, this is he. She goes, what happened to you? What happened to you? This is Miss Leonard, your English teacher from high school. She goes, what happened to you? And literally up until her phone call, she wanted to know what brought a kid from detention to success. But up until her phone call, going back to your point, I never even gave it a thought.
We would like to thank our title sponsor, B1 Bank. B1 Bank knows that entrepreneurs like you are always thinking one step ahead. So you need banking solutions that can keep up. It begins with lending. Does your business need working capital or financing for new equipment? How about a real estate or a construction loan? Good news, the B1 lending team is ready to learn your goals and help you find the best lending option available. Now let's talk about uncomplicating your daily cash flow. B1 offers a full array of treasury management services that let you collect funds faster, pay funds more efficiently, and access your information with powerful online tools. Most importantly, B1 understands the value of working with local nonprofits to build a stronger community. They believe in giving back through hands-on involvement with their B1 Community Outreach Program because it's simply the right thing to do. B1 Bank. Be uncomplicated. To learn more, visit b1bank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. Hello, I'm Andrew McClendon, your host of the NXT Entrepreneur Podcast. We're here in the Propel Production Podcast Studio in Baton Rouge, and we welcome our guest, the great Julio Melara.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, welcome. Julio, you're chairman and CEO of Melara Enterprises. That's all new.
Yes, it is.
Tell us about your exciting news. It transpired fairly recently.
Yeah, well, extremely fortunate and grateful that after 25 years of a great partnership with Ralph McAllister, he was ready to do something new, spend more time with his grandchildren, and so we completed the acquisition on December 28th, and it's the start of a new era, but it has been a fantastic ride. I couldn't have asked for a better partner.
Man, and it has been so fantastic for us to watch what the two of you created over the years, and I just think it's a great time for me to thank you both for everything that you've done for the community and all your service and being this amazing cheerleader for our city and state, and that never changed. And so I'm very grateful for what the two of you did and excited for the future for you. So congrats on that.
Well, thank you so much, man.
So let's start talking about the new company. What all did you buy?
Well, starting off with the flagship, the business report and all of the ancillary products and events that we do there, this year will be 40 years old this September.
Oh, my goodness.
So Rolf was 26 when he first started. I was 31 when we got together, and our ride has been almost 25 years together. So we've been able to build a lot of events and community experiences that impact our economy and the marketplace here in Baton Rouge. And so that includes everything from the Book of List to our best places to work, to our annual Louisiana Business Symposium, which that's really 2 events in one day, and it starts out with the best places to work in Baton Rouge. As you know, that's a big deal right now because the war's for talent, and people want to work at the best companies. And so, and then, including our top 100, where we celebrate the top 100 privately held companies for their contributions to the economy. And then we bring in one of the top economists to give the actual forecast. And so those have been staple events that are all coincide with that particular brand.
Yeah, and they're so iconic. And, the 40 under 40s added to that list. And you think of, I don't know of a business person in our state, certainly our city, that is not dialed into all those products. So you have your monthly publication, right, for the business report, but all these extra things. The real estate report I was thinking of, that tool is unbelievable. It's just so powerful. There's so much information in that.
Yeah, we've been extremely fortunate because, we're hyper-local. So, the national news is a commodity. You can get it anywhere, right? But where do you go locally, right, to find out what are your customers doing, who's expanding, who's going bankrupt, who's being promoted? And, one of the things that happened to us in 1998, I want you to think about this. Out of Little Baton Rouge, we were the very first business journal in America to launch an e-newsletter. When we started it off, people still don't remember. Everybody was doing the fax newsletters. And I wish I could say it was Rolf and I's original idea, but we had a young guy that said, hey, how about trying email? And we go, email? And sure enough, one of the things that, one of the keys, for us is we're big into innovation and taking risk. And so we took that risk, and sure enough, it is one of the most engaged open rates in America. Nor the Advocate, nor the Times-Picayune, nor most major markets in America have the loyalty factor that we do, which just kind of confirms it's important if you have the opportunity to get to the market first, right? Nobody remembers the second man on the moon. Everybody remembers who the first man on the moon was.
Right. So in line with that, some digital products that have come along the way. So the daily report, AM and PM.
Yep.
Is, that's a staple.
Well, and so we started again in 1998 with the daily report, and there was such a great appetite, and the news was coming out so fast that's when we created a PM version, right? And you should kind of keep up, because in today's world, in our business, being first, speed is at a premium, so you got to get to the news fast.
So it seems like the newest digital product under the business report line is the 6 at 6.
That's right.
And how does that work?
So great question. That's another innovating product line that we launched about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. So it's using AI. And so what happens is that when you become an insider, subscriber to both our digital and magazine, you have access to this. And so it feeds you the top 6 business news headlines at 6 a.m. But your version is not my version. So when it gets it first, if I'm a little bit more inclined to look at real estate, it'll start feeding me more real estate. If I'm more inclined to look at bank and finance, it'll feed me more bank and finance. So it customizes. The algorithms are built so much that it customizes the news and information that you're most apt to
I was
want to
not aware
digest.
of that. That's fascinating.
Yeah. So 1,000 people can get 6 at 6, but 1,000 get different versions of 6 at 6.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. So you alluded to some of the events that you do, and you guys do events at the highest level. I've attended them for decades now, but that's all underneath the umbrella of the business report. You got the 225 magazine.
Yep.
And tell us what's going on with that.
Oh man, it's a lot of magazines have readers, but 225 we have fans, and so we've been extremely fortunate. Again, I have a great editor and a great editorial team, and so every month we help locals discover the people and the places that are unique and kind of cool and special, whether it be in the entertainment scene, the art scene, the food and culinary scene. New restaurant opens, new experiences. And so our mission since day one is to really help people in the 225 region really learn more about their community.
Yeah, it's really done with a social flair.
That's right.
And at the root of it is some business. I mean, you're helping these business owners, right? Bring recognition to to their restaurants? Or
Well, yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that, when people begin to discover, and look, and it's been challenging, but there's so much talent in Baton Rouge that people are not aware of. And I'm talking in all those disciplines. It could be the arts, could be in the culinary aspect, certainly music and entertainment. And so that's part of our mission at 225 Magazine, is to help our readers and our fan base for the magazine to just, again, learn and discover more about what is right in their own backyard.
Yeah, it's been a great product. And a couple of digital products that go along with that 225.
That's right.
Going out daily.
That's right. Well, so it's interesting. We start off with 225 Dine because that's really in our wheelhouse. When we've done a lot of reader research, the number one reason started out was food, for foodies than dining. Obviously, it's evolved to some entertainment and fashion, a bunch of different things. But we started getting more feedback. Hey, we'd like to get more daily information. And so we converted the 225 into 225 Daily. So now, 5 days a week, we don't just give you information on food and eating out, but also on concerts and festivals and things happening in arts and all sorts of things like that in the community.
Yeah, it struck me when I was looking into that very part of it, the amount of events. Well, you guys really got to be on top of all of it, right? And it looked like so much information to process, But you guys are the best at it. But you also have an event that goes along with 225, the Best of 225.
Yes.
Which has been, it's interesting to see the pride that the restaurant owners or music venues or whatever may take in receiving those awards, So it's really been something.
Well, what makes it special? It's not, we just give it out, but it's the community, the readers vote.
Right.
Their best hamburger, the best Italian, the best pizza, the best romantic place, the best place to have a wedding. And so it's real cool because we not only highlight the winners, but we also put, hey, here's second and third and fourth place in case you want to try other Italian places, right? Hey, go check this out. And so people look forward to it. All of the candidates through the nomination process love getting involved. It's gotten competitive, and so it's built up a lot of juice and energy over the years. It's an exciting time.
So you've got a third magazine, InRegister.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
So Business Report was organic. 225, we built organic. InRegister, by the way, I'll say that I've tried buying a lot of things, and I discovered I'm a better seller than a buyer. But InRegister, we were able to buy. So as it was going to its 30th anniversary, to its 25th anniversary, we bought it in 2009. Okay. And we did an extreme makeover. It was really primarily only covering the social scene, but after doing a lot of focus groups and surveys, we made it more into home and design. We still cover a lot of philanthropic, community engaged and involvement, but we also have more about lifestyles and home and entertainment, and that's a different staff within our organization, and they do a great job coming out every month.
A couple of specialty projects coming out of that magazine, the Giving Guide and the Wedding Guide.
Yes. The Giving Guide has been so valuable. We have so many great nonprofits, and of course, most nonprofits struggle to get their message out, and so we decided to put this comprehensive giving guide together so that people understand what is the mission of these nonprofits, who sits on their boards, how are their funds allocated, and how can they give or get engaged. And of course, we produce the only wedding guide in the Capital Region for brides to be. One kind of stop shop for resources, whether it be the venues for their wedding, flowers, photography, and again, serving a need, and they've been great products.
And now, fourth magazine, the 1012 Industry Report. That's a biannual product.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do that twice a year, and what we try and do, everything we do is niche, and so we're the only publication that covers the industrial sector in Louisiana. So we don't really go outside, right? Yeah, you have some other ones that cover throughout Houston or throughout as fast as the Gulf Coast, but everything for us is about Louisiana. And so whether it be on the energy side, the petrochemical side, oil and gas. And so that comes out twice a year. But as you've got a feel for, we have digital products for all of our brands. And so we now have a weekly e-newsletter that people can subscribe to. It's free. That covers all the movers and shakers in the industry, breaking news, expansions, new projects, or maybe projects that were announced that are not going to happen. But it helps you stay on top of the industrial sector.
Yeah, so it's fascinating. So what we've enumerated so far is magazines, print product with their specialty kind of print products that go along with it. Your digital products, there's websites, there's events. So there's so much going on in what we've just talked about, but there's more.
Yes.
So you've got your Business Reports Executive Leadership Academy.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
That is a huge passion of mine. Any country, company, community is only as good as its leadership. And, our vision, the one thing that Rolf and I came up with together many years ago was that our vision for the company is to be a company of excellence, innovation, and impact every day. That's our sole purpose. I always tell our salespeople, money is the goal when you make it in sales, but it's not our purpose. We don't exist for that. Right. And so we want to make an impact. And so I was at a conference in San Diego, and I saw a guy started this in Chicago. I literally, not too different than you, Andrew, when I get an idea and I see an opportunity, I flew to Chicago. I looked at the model, and I said, I want to take that back to Louisiana. And the big difference was I had to modify it, is that they have big corporations in Chicago, right? And here our economy runs by small business. And so it is a real-world leadership training on steroids, where they have access to CEOs, get their insights, high-powered CEOs. But we cover stuff like building a culture of excellence. How do you really build a culture of excellence? How about, for the first time in the history of U.S. business, we have 4 generations in the workforce. So how do you motivate? How do you lead, Gen Zs, millennials, Gen Xs, and baby boomers? Conflict resolution. Big issue. But we also do a Hogan leadership assessment, which is pretty painful. Every recipient gets a 1-hour coaching session, but very profitable. And so we now have over 330 alumni. It's only 32 people every fall in a separate 32. And look, most of these executives are either business owners, small business owners, or rising C-level executives, right? And I built it with people that are growing organizations, and they don't have time to go get an MBA. They don't have time to. So it's 5 Fridays, right. 1 day full day, the other are half days, and we get it on, man. It's pedal to the metal.
That is so cool. Yeah. And you have CEOs come in and share.
Yes. Yeah, we do a Q&A with CEOs, and they get a chance. They have access. I've had everybody from Todd Graves to Sean Riley to Mr. Roland Tubes, from all different facets. Now, as you know, once you do something and you're trying to improve it, last time I brought in 3 different generations. I had a CEO that was a millennial, I had a CEO that was a Gen X, and I had a CEO that was a baby boomer, so they could taste and see the different philosophies and bents and insights. Wow. It's really really rich, and our exit surveys, people love it.
Okay, on to your next product, Studio E.
Studio E.
It's new?
It's brand new. So we started 2 businesses out of COVID. Necessity is the mother of invention. And Studio E, we believe, not in Baton Rouge, not in Louisiana, not even in the South. I believe I have some of the best writers and editors and designers. And so it's a content studio. It's a content and creative studio. And so what we do is we help businesses and organizations get their message right. And it could be their own. We've done anniversary magazines for big organizations. We've done videos. We produce videos. We've done, even lately, retooling and rewording people's websites so that the messaging, because as you know, in today's world, you can have the best product or service, but if you don't have the right message that's engaging your constituents, you're behind the eight ball. So it started out just the content and creative, but what's happening now is that, the business is changing, right? And so it used to be in our business, most vendors had 7 marketing, advertising firms, if you will. In other words, they dealt with a Lamar Outdoor, a business report, a radio station, a direct mail, a video company, a digital company. What's happened now, the average now has 2.5, which means that the relationships now have tightened up. And so Studio E is a solutions. That's what we're trying to help our clients solve problems, right? By serving them. We're going to help you if we can. If not, we'll recommend you, but it's helping to serve that purpose. And, my other divisions also have the same challenges. So it's also serving those internal customers too. Right. So it's working out pretty well.
And your second COVID business?
Is the big one, the 21st Century Business Forum. So when COVID hit, no different than most businesses, it was scary, right? The revenue was not coming in, the payments were slowing down. And so we started doing webcasts pretty quickly. Particularly, we had access to, for example, Senator Rubio's aide was the one that wrote the Small Business Administration outline for the PPP. And so, we were able to get her, we got our congressmen, we had our senators, and so we quickly, we have some great talent, some great young talent, and so our webcast started being successful. Well, in the midst of that, I was on 2, not 1, I was on 2 national weekly webcasts with people in our industry. And I got to tell you, the guys in the Northeast were crying the blues, negative. I don't know if I'm going to survive. And, I may have to close down, blah, blah, blah. And so.
Guys in the media business.
Yes, guys in the media business, yep. And, one thing, we've learned is that there's a solution, right, to everything, but you got to innovate. And so that's when the idea hit us, hey, why don't we take what we're doing so well and do it for them? So it's a total turnkey. And so I called my buddy John Gordon, who's a New York Times best-selling author. He's written 5 of them. He's written 18 books, but 5 of them. And I said, would you host this? Because he had a national following, big social media following. And I'll get the guest. We found this augmented reality technology. These young kids from ESPN did. They're out of Colorado. We created an augmented studio.
Is that what that is?
That is. Yeah. That is. And a studio can cost anywhere from $100 to $2 million. That's sure. ESPN and these guys. But this is new technology, right? You can do it very affordable, and so we actually, Rolf got Steve Forbes first. I was able to get Nick Saban, and then I started working. The law of 250 says you're only 4 people away from anybody you want to meet in the world, right? Could be the president, could be the Pope, whoever you want to meet. And so we worked every relationship, and so we've been fortunate. I got Patrick Lencioni. Just this past January, I got Drew Brees, and so we've just been giving access, and so the whole concept was there is how can we help business people get some insights, get some ideas, even get some inspiration and motivation in the time where there's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of fear, and so we've been able to get some of the best business minds and thought leaders. And have them share. It's real tight. We did a lot of research, right? 40 minutes Q&A, right? And it's worked well. We're in 22 markets, from Fresno, California, to Providence, Rhode Island, Little Rock, Detroit, North Carolina, South Carolina, and so
that's fantastic.
It's been pretty cool. It's been hard. Oh my God, it's a startup. I've learned a lot, but it's been fun.
Yeah,
and we're helping people, so that's in our wheelhouse.
Yeah, that's exceptional. So on top of all of that, I just want to mention, you've written several books yourself, and you've done well with those, and you also do national speaking, motivational speaking. You're still doing that.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. It's a passion.
Julio, it's just unbelievable. I just wanted to spend Normally when I have a guest, we'll start off and we'll spend 2 or 3 minutes with, the guest telling our listeners what their business is all about. You have so much going on, and I really wanted to shine a light on listening to all of that put together. And let us take a break here, get a word from our sponsor, and we'll pick up the story on the other side. We would like to thank Modus for their support of the NXT Entrepreneur Podcast. Who is Modus? Modus is a facility services company that works in the e-commerce fulfillment industry across the United States. What do? They like to say they take it from the conveyor to the dock door. Well, what does that mean? It means that they're building the pick stations with the cable management. They're installing guardrails and bollards. They're putting down floor marking. They're putting up aerial signage. These guys build fencing systems, shelving systems, and racking systems. They also do rack recovery for when there's rack failures. They also install dock levelers and dock doors. Modus also installs ASRS systems, which is automated storage and retrieval systems, as well as other robotics projects. They've worked for the largest e-commerce retailers in the world, and they can work for you. If you need to find Modus, you can reach them online at modusmoves.com. Hello, and we are back with Julio Melara, CEO of Melara Enterprises. So, Julio, it strikes me that the common denominator between all the products that we just went through is the processes that make them come to life, right? So I've heard you speak about, the 6 spokes of your business or the 6 levers. Tell us what that is that you do as a CEO.
Well, in a media business like ours, if you can picture a wheel, you have 6 spokes that really balance it out and give you the traction that you need to move forward. And obviously, number 1 is the editorial, the content manufacturers. These are our reporters, our writers, our editors. Then you have a sales team, right? That's handles part of the advertising and sponsorships and things like that, kind of the revenue generators. And then you have our design and production, right? Nothing happens unless our magazines look fantastic. You can pick them up and go into Dallas or Atlanta, and they would fit in right well, right? The production quality is there, so they're extremely talented. And then you have audience development. In the old days when you just had a magazine, it was called a circulation, but today it's data driven. So everything from our e-newsletters, our subscribers, and so our audience development, constantly making sure that we're quantifying and qualifying all of our numbers, our readers, what stories capture, the hearts and minds of our readers more, and all that sort of stuff. And then you have the business department, right? Your HR, your administrative, accounting, and then last is our marketing and events. And so that's so important because how you position the brands. We serve so many different niches. Everything we do is hyper local and it's very niche oriented. And so whenever we do events, it's all about the experience. That's the reason when you come to our events, they begin on time, they end on time, and we sweat the details in terms of what is the experience going to be when that person comes and interacts with our brand and in that environment.
You guys do your events and everything so well. I just couldn't imagine what Baton Rouge would be like without everything that you guys have done, seriously, over the decades. But so let's dial it back a bit and take us back to your early years.
How early you want to go? Growing up?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Wow. Haven't been asked that in a while. So, my father left us when I was 4, so I was raised by a mother, and she was my hero. So she instilled a lot. Is your
mother? She's still alive?
No, she passed away 7 years ago. Yep, and she was a fireball. Taught me my work ethic, but she instilled an incredible belief system. She used to tell me every day I could do anything if I applied myself, and I heard it. This is where I got the statement: "What the mind hears the most, it believes," because she just told me over and over and over again that I could do anything if I applied myself. So when I graduated from high school, I didn't know we didn't have any money to go to college. But I played a little bit of decent soccer, so I got a little half scholarship at the University of New Orleans. And what ended up happening at the time, it was part of the LSU system back in those days. So it was Division I. And the first year I was a freshman, and they found you a job, so you could get a job. They helped you find a job. And so I got a job at $3.35 an hour at a new business journal that had just started called City Business. And that was 1983. And literally, I was a courier for a couple of years, and I met this wonderful lady named Maureen McClendon. You may know her.
I do, my sister.
Your sister.
Oh my goodness,
Talk about a small world. Yeah. She was a terrific mentor to me. And what's funny is that she was my first boss, and years later, when she came back, I was her boss. So it's amazing, the circle of life, right? Yeah. But it was there literally that I found the passion for selling. And my senior year, I was tired of being a courier. I told her, and I told the big chief, I was tired of being a courier. I wanted to get into sales because I just saw the success of the other salespeople. And so my senior year, at that time there were sunrise classes, so I could have a class at 7:30 in the morning, and I'd go to class to 11:30, and then from 11:30 to 6:30 I'd go sell. And within 3 years I was one of the top producers. Then WWL Radio came and gave me an offer that I couldn't refuse. It was real tough leaving there because my mentor Bill was like a father, but at the time, they were owned by the Jesuits, by Loyola University. It's the second oldest radio station in America, 30,000 watts. And if you worked at WWL, they would pay for your MBA. So I go sell radio. Wow. And after my second year, I became the top producer out of 8 people there. The third year in the business, I start making so much money, I didn't have time to finish my MBA, and I become the first $1 million producer in the radio industry in Louisiana. Then at the time...
So, Julio, that math is pretty staggering. That's like $4,000 a day per working day.
And selling spots at $75 to $85 a radio spot.
That's crazy.
Back in the day. Yeah, it was crazy. It was. I was extremely fortunate. But, I love what I did. I wanted to take care of my customers, and I was a student of my work. And that's when I understood that, talent is a gift. We all have talents, but greatness, to be elite, is a choice. You got to be determined. You got to dig in. You got to have grit. You got to put in the work. And that I owe to my mother. And so literally, I actually started a little sports agency, and I recruited Sam Mills and Pat Swilling. And we did a lot of marketing things. I did a couple of one-offs with Archie Manny and Morton Anderson, but it was called, that's where Time for Action came from. So I had this little side thing going on there.
And what did you do with that?
Well, we would Popeye's fried chicken. I had the relationships with. I would recruit the players. I had the relationships with a lot of the clients that sponsored the Saints, because we also sold the Saints and LSU football at WWL. Right. So that was such a fun thing, and that's when I started kind of cutting my teeth, realizing sports marketing and all of these other facets. Which ironically, I served as a Superdome commission for 8 years, a couple of years ago. So I started out selling Game Day magazine in publishing, and 2 decades later, I'm one of the commissioners of Superdome. So that's another
under Jindal.
Under Jindal, that's exactly right. Yeah. So, but I to kind of fast forward. So I had a great run in radio. So then my original mentor, Bill, came back, and the company was growing. He needed help. He said, I just bought New Orleans Magazine. I have Louisiana Life. And if you come back, we're looking getting into radio. And so I did. And so I went back, and I became one of the youngest publishers in the country at the top. At the time, New Orleans was a top 50 market. New Orleans Magazine, I ran Louisiana Life. We bought 2 radio stations. One was La Fabulosa 830. It was a bilingual, it was a Hispanic radio station, but we started a bilingual business newspaper in New Orleans for the Latino community. Oh, wow. And then, of course, we had City Business. We had an outdoor billboard company, and so it was a great ride for a couple of years, and we grew the company a lot. But in 1997, I began to want to do my own thing, and that's when I had opportunities really in Miami, in Chicago, and Dallas. But I married a woman from Louisiana.
You weren't going nowhere.
I wasn't going nowhere, baby. Nowhere fast. And so Baton Rouge was the next closest thing because I had the best job in advertising and marketing. I was compensated very well, and I loved what I did, but I wanted to own. I wanted equity.
How proud were you back then?
I'm sorry?
How proud were you? I envision the Julio I know back as a young 25-year-old just killing it. And I just got to imagine you must have been just so incredibly proud and think about your mother watching you achieve a great success at a young age.
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I had never thought about it until I wrote my first book. When I had I had a teacher call me. She saw me on the news. I had a lady call me out of the blue. Actually, I didn't know it was a teacher. And she saw that I had done the morning shows as the publisher of New Orleans Magazine and these other things. And that evening I had a book signing at one of the Brennan's restaurants, but I was on the 10 o'clock news on 2 or 3 of the networks. And I get home that evening and the phone rings and I'm exhausted, but it's been a great day. And it's a woman on the other line. And I go, hello. And she says, is Julio Melara in? I go, well, this is he. And she asked, is this the same Julio Melara who went to Bonneville High School? Which I thought was kind of odd, huh? I go, yes, it is. And the lady goes, is this the same Julio Melara who spent more time in detention than he did doing his English homework? And I go, no, that was his twin brother, Jose. She goes, Julio didn't have a twin brother. She goes, I said, okay, this is he. She goes, what happened to you? What happened to you? This is Miss Leonard, your English teacher from high school. She goes, what happened to you? And literally up until her phone call, she wanted to know what brought a kid from detention to success. But up until her phone call, going back to your point, I never even gave it a thought.
That's fantastic.
And so that was when I had an epiphany. I just worked hard and I wanted to achieve and I give it a lot more thought now that I've gotten older, right? We begin to reflect, so.
I was curious, Julio, when I think about, you mentioned the role of your mother being such a positive voice in your life. And I'm thinking particularly about your recent purchase of the business report and et al. What would your mother think about you right now? What would she think about that milestone achievement in your life?
She was always real proud. I don't know that she'd be surprised, but she'd be real proud.
Yeah. So you had options, right? You could go to Chicago, you could go to Miami, but you need to stay in Louisiana, let's say. And so you started to look around, and that led you to meeting with Rolf McCollister.
Yep.
Tell us how that went down.
So it's a great story because I was 31 and he was 40. So I came down to Baton Rouge. I just finished my second book, I believe. It Only Takes Everything You've Got. And I was speaking in Baton Rouge. And so I had called him. We knew of each other. We just didn't know each other on a deep level. And so we went and had coffee, and we said, well, let's continue the conversation. But I didn't want anybody in New Orleans to know what I was doing in Baton Rouge. He didn't want anybody in Baton Rouge to know he was talking to this guy in New Orleans. So we would meet at Mint Dwarfs. Mint Dwarfs and eat catfish every Wednesday. Every Wednesday for 3 hours. And it was there that we just got to know each other. I was doing reconnaissance on him. He was doing reconnaissance on me. And we were both hearing good things about each other. And one day we kept the conversations, and it was the best decision that I made. A lot of people in New Orleans, I will say this, I didn't understand Louisiana until I moved here.
Right.
The people in New Orleans goes, what are you doing? going to Baton Rouge. I remember growing up, there's only 3 reasons you ever came to Baton Rouge. It was called LSU football, LSU basketball, and the legislature, right? And then I moved to Baton Rouge. People were back, you lived in New Orleans? Oh, my God, how could you put up with all that stuff? So I go, okay, so now I understand. At the time, Shreveport, rooted for the Dallas Cowboys, right, before the Saints really started winning. And then Lafayette's out there as the real true Cajun country. So it's like, oh, my God, the parochialism, right, of our state. So it was 1997, and we signed the paperwork in that May, and it's been a great ride.
So you guys did some. If I think back 25 years ago, you guys were doing some really cool stuff. I think things now that don't necessarily even exist today. I think the Expo.
Yes.
That was the trade show, right?
That's right.
That thing was massive.
It was. It was
just this massive.
You got a good
production.
memory.
Yeah. And I mean, what a production that was. It's on multiple floors.
That's right.
And,
yeah.
And maybe before that, the Corporate Cup.
That's right. Corporate Cup, which grew to almost 5,000 participants.
That was a road race.
Yeah, the road race here. And we realized it got so big. It started off with a nice little thought, and then finally got, wait, we're not in the running business. We need to give this to somebody else. But we even, so the Corporate Cup is one, but even Impact. We started Impact, and we gave that to the Arts Council. Music and people and arts and community, dressed in all white, and big music and entertainment and arts production. So we started that. The Sunday
in the park.
Sunday in the Park, we started that, and we ended up giving that over. And so we've tried to initiate a lot of things, best practices around the country, bring them to our hometown to help enhance the quality of life here and experiences. Because one of my big initiatives right now, I want to try and keep our talent here. Unfortunately, we're doing a great job of exporting a lot of our talent, and we've got to keep our talent here. And so, it's a yin yang, because you go, you got to build the amenities for the quality of life, and then people will come. Well, no, but you got to get them here because we got jobs to fill, and you got to. But I think you got to do both parallel at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. So you join Rolf. You guys are doing the business report, you're doing events, and then this idea comes up for a new magazine product, 225. Tell us how that started.
So if people only knew, so before that, I want you to know that nobody had ever used 225 before. And so, again, there was a void in the marketplace, right? At the time, the young people and college kids had the Reveille and Tiger Weekly. The older people had City Social and InRegister. But where do young professionals go? How do you connect what to do and where to go and where to eat? And this is where kind of the idea came from. We did a couple of focus groups, and, man, we were getting the affirmation for this new magazine that would fill a need for the community. And so the funny story about it, that many people don't know, is that we had a lot of different names, and we narrowed it down to 2. And one was BR Link, like Brink, BR Inc., Brink.
Right.
And the other one was 225. And when I say that today, it gives me, I can't even believe that. But believe it or not, we had a cool logo. And so one day, in the parking lot of a coffee shop here, it was a Saturday morning, Rolf and I, we didn't flip a coin, but we almost said, look, it could be 50-50. Let's just go. A couple of other markets had used, their area code. So watch this. We decided to pull the trigger in March. In March of 2005, I hire an editor, which was Tom Garisco. I hire an assistant editor, was Jeff Rodell. 2 great names here in town. I hire a sales manager and a sales rep. We ever have a production intern. We start laying out the game plan, right, to launch in November. We would do in November, December, and then beginning in January, we'll go monthly, right? And at the time, Tsunami's getting ready to open up. The Shaw Center is the foundation, everything's being laid. It's going to be open.
Downtown Baton Rouge.
Downtown Baton Rouge, that's right. The juice is starting, right? Yeah. And then something happens that would forever impact our state in late August, the last week of August of 2005 and beginning, and Katrina hits. And so people thought that we had started 225 magazine because of the influx, but that was not accurate. We had already laid the groundwork. We were already going. What's interesting is that one of the first sales call, and it was me and Rolf going out presenting a mock-up, and I can't tell you, I must have had at least 5 people go, Julio, not another magazine. We don't need another magazine. And I will tell them this is going to be different. This is going to be different. I actually had one big advertiser. I will never say his name because he said if I ever tell anybody, he'll pull all his business from me. But he was in the room and he had his marketing, and he goes, "Can I ask you a question? What is 225?" And his marketing director goes, "It's the area code, boss." And he goes, "If you ever tell anybody that I asked that question, I'll never do business with you again." But it took off, man. It took off, and it's been a great product for our community. I think we fill a big void, and I'm real proud of our team.
So I remember maybe the first issue or first couple of issues. It was unbelievable how much content you had in there. It was unreal.
That's right.
What magazine starts like that? It just didn't even seem.
Okay, a little bit of insider here, okay? Only for your podcast. So I remember Rolf, Rolf and I complement each other. I always tell people my strengths are his weaknesses are my strengths, and because our values are so aligned, this was a great marriage and partnership. And so he says, "So how much are we going to lose for the first year?" Doing this thing. I go, "Lose the first year?" I go, "We ain't losing nothing the first year. We're gonna make money coming out of the bat, right from the get go," and we did. I went. We had a charter program for those that believed without seeing, right? And so we came with a special program for them, and we had a lot of people believe and trust in us, and we launched it from day one. We never lost money on that new startup.
You couldn't have looked at that magazine and thought there was any losing going on. I was like, "Man, this seems to win." Okay, let's take another quick break, Julio, and pick it up from there on the other side. We would like to thank MBD Automation for their support of the NXT Entrepreneur Podcast. MBD Automation is a mechanical install contractor with a program-centric focus. So what do these guys do? They install conveyor systems, VRCs, platforms, singulators, sorters, and all sorts of other types of automated equipment. Who do they work for? They work for systems integrators, manufacturers, and end users in fulfillment centers, airports, mail processing facilities, and projects in the defense industry. MBD Automation works for numerous Fortune 500 companies across the United States and has a list of international clients that they perform work for in the U.S. as well. If MBD Automation can help you on your next project, you can find them online at mbdautomation.com. And we are back with Julio Melara. So, Julio, it strikes me that you guys and all the products that you do and all the things that you do are in one way in the business of creating or helping nurture culture for our city and our state in all sorts of different ways. And it got me curious about how you develop culture inside your own business.
Great question. As you have heard, as you know, culture definitely trumps strategy. It's all about the people, right? And, there's a misnomer that culture has to do with the ping pong table, with the cappuccino machine. Really, culture lives in the hearts and the minds of your people, right? And so we've tried, certainly starting with example, from the days that I first started with Rolf to today, our culture is by design, not by default, right? And so it's very, very, very intentional. Our culture is not for everybody. I always remind our team that we are a culture of high commitment, right? Not perfect, but high commitment. And if you don't like change, this is not a good culture. And, it may not be anything wrong with you or us, but this may not be a good place because we're going to keep changing and evolving. We've had to. People always ask, how did you guys, man, your industry has been so tough and it's going through big changes. Yep, like everybody else's. So we've had to evolve also, right? And so, to me, there's three facets to culture. It's the paper. Most companies have a mission statement, a vision statement, and you do have to keep things in writing. But unfortunately, most companies will have it up on the wall and they don't live, right? And then there's the part that's in here, in the mind, and in the hearts. And so, we've tried to be an example in terms of our leadership, helping our people when they've been through tragedy, crisis. We've walked through people with cancer, divorce, you name it. It's just life, right? Life happens. And, even COVID. I mean, COVID was extremely challenging, for all of us. But in the midst of that, I think our people would tell you they saw our core values being lived out. Every year we're committed to giving back. We feel that, hey, we're blessed to be a blessing. So we give back with serving on boards. We give to nonprofits, ministries that are doing good work, a commitment to excellence. Our people focused, right? And so, again, that's almost like a daily thing, right? Because at the end of the day, our people go up and our assets go up and down the elevator every day, right? And so that culture, it's got to permeate. I always want people. I can walk into a business and I can smell their culture. If there's an aroma of excellence, or if it's, it just does not smell good, right? You could smell a culture, and I'm very proud. I think we have a real good one, and we're certainly not satisfied. We can continue to build on our culture.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at some of your products, top 100 businesses, the best places to work. You guys can not really partake in that those conversations, but you identify the businesses that do have the good cultures. And I think you mentioned that the employees of those businesses are the ones that nominate those companies. So
That's
the
correct.
Culture has to be real.
That's right.
Right?
Exactly right.
And tell me, how is that? Y'all have a third party that kind of...
Yeah, so this is the beauty of it, because people will always make up their own narrative in their own minds, but it's a third-party independent, one of the largest in America, and so we just facilitate it. And it's a company, and what they do, here's the cool part, the company only fills out 25% of the survey. The rest of it, the other 75%, comes from the employees, and it's all... it's not tagged back. The employer never gets the name of the employee who graded them in any of the specific pieces. So the methodology is extremely sharp and very robust and very, very tight, and it works out great. But that's when you really find out what your people think. It doesn't matter what the CEO thinks or the owner thinks. It's what your people think.
So when you look at the root of everything that you do is really relationships, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're connecting people. You're selling, and tell us that the importance of nurturing and maintaining relationships.
Well, there's two different types of organizations: transactional ones and relational ones, and we're certainly relationship oriented. I believe, every relationship, every resource you will ever need in life is found in your relationships, right? You need a loan, you need a relationship. You need some wisdom, you need a relationship. You need some love, you need a relationship. Everything is relationship. And I think, I've kind of unpacked it to our people, without clients and attorneys has no future, right? Without patients, a doctor has no practice. And without our customers and clients, we don't have a job, right? And so we've got to take care of relationships. But not just on a one time. It's building and cultivating and nourishing relationships, right? Because even in selling, all things being equal, people would rather buy from a friend than a salesperson. All things not being equal, people still rather buy from a friend than a salesperson, right? So cultivating the relationship and making sure, right, that we're taking care of needs. And so, look, over the years, I can't tell you how many, even in our training, look, if we can help them, let's help them. If not, let's not do it, because, again, we don't want them to hate the magazine, hate our company. I mean, we're trying to help businesses thrive and grow in our community. And that was one of the big things in COVID. When COVID hit, our number one, we rallied our teams. How can we help the business community survive? Because the truth is, if the business community doesn't survive, we don't survive, right? So let's not focus on ourselves, me. Let's focus outwardly. Let's focus how we can help others. And in helping others, it'll come back to us. And so to me, it's all about serving and relationships.
Yeah. So you've mentioned the quality of your products. You could take one of your magazines into Dallas or Atlanta and they'll hold their own or shine above. And that's certainly true. But you guys have been recognized nationally for your work throughout the years. How important is that to your staff?
Well, I think getting recognized for the quality of work, they work so hard. I mean, we've got some talented people, and they work real hard at their craft. We're never, we have a little internal thing, we can be content, but don't be satisfied. Meaning, be grateful for where we are, be thankful for what you have, but don't ever be satisfied. Why? Because you can continue to improve. And so I actually have quit counting. We've gotten so many national awards, and it's been an honor. It's been a blessing, and it's great that these artists, whether it be our editorial, our writers, our design team, get recognized for the quality of the work, and that they understand, if they really wanted to, they could be in LA or Chicago or Cleveland or Detroit or Dallas Fort Worth, and because we're competing. As a matter of fact, what people don't know, even in some of these national awards, we chose, they're different categories, but we're not even, I don't even know what market we are as of right this second, but we were between 90 and 100, largest market. And we chose to be in the big boy category, the top 40. And we're competing against Los Angeles, New York, Chicago. And so many times when we've won these national awards, we've been competing because, our motto has always been, we don't want to be the best in Louisiana or the South. We want to compete nationally.
Yeah. So I imagine that when it comes to attracting talent, and they can look at the awards that those didn't happen by accident. Those happened because of, management was passionate, right? And so that's got to be really beneficial.
Yeah, well, I think most people want to go with the winner, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons why we enter that competition, because we are trying to recruit, we want people to know, hey, they're coming with a national award-winning organization.
So, Julio, the thing I think that I've learned about you is you like change. You like new things. You like pursuing opportunities. And just out of COVID, you mentioned there's two new businesses, two new opportunities start. How can you comment on that? Is my perception right there? And how exciting are you about what's going on right now and about the future?
Well, yeah, you definitely hit the nail on the head. My wife will tell you I love change because she's just the opposite. And, look, I learned a long time ago there's only three things you can do with change. You can fight it, you can ignore it, or you can embrace it. And all three have consequences in our lives. If you ignore change, it's just a matter of time. You'll become discontented, discouraged, depressed. It'll bring you to a dead end. If you ignore change, it'll be just a matter of time, but you're swept away by the competition. If you're in an organization, you'll be overlooked for a promotion and financial rewards. But if we learn to embrace change and really understand that it's part of life, right? That as the seasons change, as our children's change, as the economy changes, as technology changes, you're going to enjoy the journey. And so, something I'm extremely clear on as I read. I'm like you. I read a lot. I'm a student trying to study trends, and not just in my own industry but around the world. It's evident. I mean, change has come. change is here, and there's more change coming tomorrow. And so that's kind of the approach. And we got to stay. I think every leader has to have elasticity in their strategy. You got to have, you got to stay nimble no matter how big or small you are, because you got to be able to maneuver. And so we're still in the stage where we can move fast, and that has been, everything has an upside, everything has a downside. But for us, that opportunity has served us well, because we're able to mobilize and move quickly when we see an opportunity to serve.
So, starting the new year, you're at the helm of the operation. How different has that been for you after you've had Rolf by your side for 25 years?
It feels a little weird.
Yeah,
feels a little weird, just because we've always done everything together. We had a couple of covenants. One of them was that we never made any decision unless we were both aligned. So we never. I once had the guys ask, man, Rolf's personality is so strong, yours is personality, how you guys get along? It's been like a marriage. Literally, for a lot of people don't know, but our faith is extremely important to us. So for 24 years, every Tuesday at 6:30 in the morning, we'd have a little devotional time, a little time of prayer where we pray for our community, we pray for our employees. And so, faith has been extremely important to us. And I would say that that's probably been kind of the main glue besides values and exciting and innovating. So that's been an extraordinary part of the long-term relationship and making things flow. But now, I'll tell you what's going to be a little bit different is that, I told our people that I'm going to serve them, I'm going to help them grow, and I'm going to empower them more, because there's so many different aspects, as you have seen and highlighted today, that I've got to have an opportunity to look more towards the future. So many of them are going to have new opportunities. I actually did promote 4 people. There's some other people that are on my radar that are going to have more opportunities. And I got to candidly tell you that I think there's a youth energy movement in Baton Rouge going on. I think that we're entering a new era as a community too. It's not just my organization, but when I look at great leadership that has been here, from the Baton Rouge Foundation to John Davies, to Visit Baton Rouge. You have a lot of organizations that can are going to have new leadership, right? And one of the things that I've learned through my leadership academy and interacting with a lot of these Gen X's and millennials and is that they want to make a difference and they want to get involved. And so one of my goals for our organization across all brands is that how can we help mobilize the conversation to help this transformation continue to evolve? Baton Rouge has a lot of positive attributes. I don't think we talk enough about them as a community. Yes, we got our share of big issues, no doubt about it. But many cities do too. And here's where we need the leadership to kind of elevate. And that's kind of one of my personal kind of focuses over these next couple of years, and to see if we can help accelerate and help mobilize that transformation.
So Julio, you guys are in business and you have your products, and I just want you to know that there's so much more that you have brought to our city and our state in what you're just saying now, and helping elevate the conversations and make our state greater.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just very grateful for you and Rolf, and proud to consider both of you friends. And I know that the future, I could ask you what your vision for the future is, but I'm going to let you just wrap your hands around what you've got to deal with right now. But I know that the future is great when Julio Melara is in charge. So I wish you the best of luck. I appreciate you coming on and sharing all your stories, and it's just amazing what you do. And continued success.
Well, thank you very much. It's been my pleasure and honor, man. Thank you. I remember when you first talked about doing this, and kudos to you, man, for all the great stories that you're bringing to our community.
Thank you, brother. So great to have Julio on the podcast. He delivered, as always. When you think about all the products and the events that his company produces, it really is hard to wrap your mind around. It's when he started to talk about the 6 spokes, the common denominators, the processes that bring all of his products to life, is where I began to understand, okay, that's how he does it. But it's still just such an incredible metaphor. Look, Julio embraces change. He's passionate about helping people build a culture of excellence and helping businesses thrive. We know that he will continue to do that. We wish him great success on the continuation of his venture in business. We appreciate him coming in. We appreciate you guys watching, and we'll catch you next time. We would like to thank our title sponsor, B1 Bank. They can be found online at b1bank.com. The Next Entrepreneur is produced by Propel Productions. You can find more information at propelyourstory.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Next Entrepreneur Podcast and hit the bell for notifications. You can also follow us on social media. The links are in the description below.